Now it's time we start to speak to Mr. Muhammad Nabil. Mr.
Yeah,
Muhammad
hello.
Nabil, are you here?
Yeah, I am here. I can hear clearly.
Great. Mr. Muhammad is used actually to hosting people and holding the tools and tools of control and leading the conversation. But now you're the guest, and we would like to welcome you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. And actually, we prepared a question for you, which is what it takes to make an innovative student. Would you
Okay,
please
well,
share your experience regarding this?
yeah, sure. Actually, so to start with, it's my pleasure to be with all of these wonderful people and the wonderful speakers. So I'm gonna talk about something first, which is a story of my nonprofit organization or EduCast, which started maybe 3 months ago, or even 4 to 5 months ago. Actually, I don't realize how much it has been there. But my aim was to try to provide other teachers with more opportunities. Because um, some teachers need some other opportunities to be equal with the teachers who are in their country and in other countries as well, right? So the idea was to try to be different from everyone else, to start by being innovative, by starting a podcast that provides teachers with teacher training book summaries and reviews. Okay, so this was something new. I don't know whether it is or it exists in Egypt or not, but I tried to talk to myself and say, teachers are really busy. Some teachers cannot find enough time to read books and keep developing themselves professionally. So why don't they just listen, right? So listening is also important to develop their English skills or English level, and of course teaching skills. So to start with the meaning of innovation. So as you all know, innovation is often a new product, but it also can be a new way of doing something, or even a new way of thinking. Okay, so teachers need to be innovative so that they can, make or create innovative students to think differently. So
Right.
teachers, yeah, have to start, themselves by being innovative so that they can create innovative students. So there are some, points I'm going to talk about in order to help students or learners to become innovative. The first one is to create flexible learning environments. I mean, classrooms are usually crowded places, full of chairs, desks, full of students, right? Things written about different subjects here and there. So why don't we make them as much comfortable as we can? Why can't we make them, motivating for the learners? Why don't we post or write something or some motivating quotes on the walls, right? So that they can motivate our learners, right? Okay, so creating learning spaces should provide learners with flexibility, okay, to support one-to-one learning and collaboration. So students need to have more space in the classroom to work individually, maybe to stand up and move around the classroom, get to know each other, speak with each other, work in pairs, or even work in groups and participate in group discussions. Okay, in order to have some kind of independent thinking. Okay. Also, I'm going to talk about the mindset. The teacher himself needs to work on his mindset. He needs to be passionate about the subject that he's teaching, right? If you like what you teach, your learners will like you and will like what you teach, right? So to change the type of delivery, and make the classroom more innovative, try Try to feel comfortable in your classroom, and your students will feel the same. Try to make them feel comfortable while learning. Okay. Also, try to always evaluate your teaching. Okay, so of course we all make mistakes in our classrooms, right? Sometimes we plan, we consume much time in planning, and then when we get to the classroom, we find that there are some things that weren't that suitable to our learners, right? So we have to make self-reflection. We have to look at what we have done so far. We have to try to think differently, depend on what uh, grabs the students' interests, right? And then we can, help in reaching an innovative experience, learning experience. Something else, I've talked about this before, which is allowing different answers. When we ask the students questions, like, for example, when we say, complete this sentence, in the past tense, in the past simple tense, or in the simple past tense. Okay, I space to school yesterday. So the students should use the verb go. So the possible answer, the expected answer is went, right?
Right.
So why don't you offer the students to choose, or why don't you, tell them that they can use any other verb. So some students would say, okay, I learned lots of things in school yesterday, right? So this brings creativity and more innovative ideas. This will, let them think differently, right? So don't depend on the textbook answers. No, allow different answers. Okay. One more thing, students have to, get a place in the classroom, okay? Because in every classroom, we have different types of learners. We have different learning styles. So we have to respect this well. We have to have some kind of differentiation in our teaching, right? We have to include different activities to respect visual learners, auditory learners, learners who like to move a lot and do things by themselves, analytical ones, right? Encourage them to work in groups and share their ideas, right? They all have different abilities. So by working together, we can get really big things, big products, creative ones, right? Instead of using problem solving skills, why don't you encourage them to use problem finding?
Yeah, great.
Right? Yeah, use guided discovery, right? So by using problem finding, teachers can provide students with the opportunity to think deeply. Where's the problem here?
Yes.
We sometimes we use this in the delayed feedback, in our lessons. And instead of telling the students about the mistake, so where's the mistake here? So now you're providing the students with a real big opportunity to be innovative, to correct the mistakes and think independently, which will promote learner autonomy, which is the big thing that you have to be working on, right? You don't have to be the own source of information. Just try to have some kind of flipped classroom, okay? Give them a topic to search on the internet, give them a video to watch, and then they will come back to the classroom and discuss their ideas with you. So the time spent in the classroom will be, spent in peer discussions, group work activities, right? So this will reach, or this will apply a more student-centered approach, which is the aim, right? The students are, are responsible for their own learning these days, right? Not the teachers. One last thing, because I think that I took so much time talking about this. Yeah, let the students take risks. Let them make mistakes, right? Some students in our classroom, feel really scared to make mistakes. I always in my classrooms ask them to make mistakes. Make mistakes. I'm here to correct your mistakes. I'm here to help you. I'm here to guide you. Okay, so you can correct the students' mistakes, or you can have some kind of peer correction, have the students correct each other's mistakes, so they will learn from each other. Okay.
So, Mr.
Yeah,
Muhammad, you mean that it all depends on the teacher again? The teacher is the one who can encourage their students to make mistakes and to learn.
exactly. Innovation
And
starts
yeah,
from the teacher himself.
exactly. And actually, it makes me recall a saying that says, "Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I will learn." And that is exactly what you've just said. It has been awesome listening to your innovative ideas actually in classroom. It went far beyond the students. It went back again and reflected on the teacher's attitude. Thank you again, Mr. Muhammad. It has been valuable having you today.
So guys, it's time now for your Q&A. If you have any questions, would you please type them in the chat box for our dear guest speakers. So any questions, would you please? I know that there were some questions in the very beginning, but we delayed them. So would you like to ask some questions? Okay. Guys, where are your questions? And I saw many questions. Give me some advice to beginner teacher who wants to improve their skills. Well, this is actually a broad question. So beginner teacher who wants to improve his or her skill. Ms. Hind, if you're here.
Yeah, if Ms. Hind is here, I guess she answered this question partly in her speech.
Can answer the question well, yes?
Yes, dear. Would you please repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Surely.
So the question is, can you give us some advice, some pieces of advice to a beginner teacher who wants to improve her or his skills?
Well, that's a wonderful, and as you said, Dr. Hiba, it's a very broad question. Yeah. And we're usually asked this question with fresh graduates, and they usually ask, from where should I start? أبدأ منين? It's the most common question. أبدأ منين? Basically, you have a weapon that has two edges, as we said. Now, firstly, you have to master your language. That's why you have to develop your language skills. Reading, listening, speaking, and writing skills are very, very important to master, because you won't be a good teacher unless you master all these skills. Yeah, even if you're an Arabic subject teacher, but working in an international school. So basically, you have to improve your language. And I guess that all of the teachers here are English language teachers, aren't they? Yeah? Mm-hmm. Yes. Or else we speak in English since the first minute.
The majority here, yes, are English and math and science teachers. The majority.
Yeah, so English language subjects, yes. So basically, you won't be able to be called as an English or math science teacher unless you master the language first. This is number one. Number two is the ways you teach. We said before that if you want to be able to learn how to develop your teaching skills, if you're not updated, you will be an obsolete and outdated teacher. This means that you have, we were most likely like doctors, Dr. Hiba, doctors, like physicists who work in the medical field.
Diagnose.
Yes, they have to learn, they have to stay updated every day. They have to read over and over again to stay updated and not to become an obsolete teacher that no more valid. That is exactly the same case for teachers. You guys have to read a lot. You have to get to know what's the updated or the most modern technology nowadays that they came up to. You have to read a lot. You have to attend a lot of webinars, and you have to learn to use or to get the best use out of every single possible way of learning. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mrs.
You're welcome, dear. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear.
Yes, another question here for how to develop my language skills. How to develop my language skills, Mr. Muhammad Ziyad, if you're here.
Yes, Dr. Heba. It's
How
another.
to improve my language skills? I know again it's another broad question, but let's just give them some tips, quick tips.
I think that also Dr. Hind Fayed, because of her expertise in such a field, could answer this question.
Nice to see
But
you today, Mr. Zayed.
the pleasure is all mine already.
أهلاً وسهلاً.
From my own experience and from my own point of view, I think it depends on the context that you are working in, and it depends on the subject that you are teaching. We have here two different perspectives. We have here two different disciplines. Okay, the first one is if you are teaching some non-major subjects like math and science. So we are here speaking about what we call it soft CLIL, content and language integrated skills. المواد or subjects that we are not focusing on language here. So you need to know only the terminology. So we call it soft CLIL. But if you are teaching language through content, so it's called hard CLIL or cloud. Okay, so here, how can I improve? It's starting from the input. What are the input? Read and listen. But you need to listen to improve your speaking skills. You need to read to improve your writing and to improve also your speaking skills. So it depends mainly on the input skills. Then it will lead to the output products like writing and speaking as well. And again, if you need to be creative, you need to imitate, as it's mentioned here in the chat box. Any invention starting with imitating, even poetry. They ask it before. Just ask your students to what we have here is it's called model writing. Take this kind of a passage, imitate it. Try to break it down. Know the structure. Why is it there? What did they ask here? So also in grammar, we call it guided discovery. It's not only about how you absorb the skill, but it's about how can you imitate it. Once you imitate something, you will teach it. Thank you so much for the question, and I hope hopefully my answer will.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for your answer. I think yes, it was really very helpful. Okay, so we have here many questions about what are your roadmap and plan for the future. Talking about Innovia Ed. Yes, guys, we're gonna announce this in a minute, but just we want to finish the question about for our guest speakers, so that if you want to leave.
Okay, sure.
أشكرك شكرا جزيلا لسؤالك. الحقيقة إنه برضو thank you very much. This is a wonderful question. The question that has been asked and Mr. Zayed answered, but if you allow me, please, I'd like to add a small addition to what Mr. Zayed just said. Guys, yes, we have to learn that there are some productive skills and receptive skills, and we have to play on the productive skills first. We have to take and keep on taking, just as a little kid, when they start learning vocabulary, they start learning vocabulary in context, and then they start speak what they have learned. So the beginning of the journey is to receive, which is by practicing both the listening and the reading skills. But what I really want to say today is, guys, to cut the long story short, we all know that the education journey is so long, yes? So to cut the very long trip or journey very short, let me tell you something. The shortest way here is to practice the IELTS or any standardized test. Start practicing any standardized test. Why am I saying that? Not because I'm an IELTS trainer, but let me tell you something. Let's take, for example, the IELTS test. It's a test that is basically designed to evaluate or to test your English skills. So if you master these skills by practicing, take, for example, one of the IELTS books, like let's say Cambridge Vocabulary or Cambridge 15 for the IELTS. Okay. And here I'm not advertising anything. I'm just telling you guys what to do. Do some self-learning, some self-study. Start with the speaking part, reading, then move to the listening and the writing. Get to know the kids, open videos, open YouTube channels, and do whatever you like to. But the most important thing is that use this tool so that you can easily develop and boost your English skills. It's a wonderful skill. For example, let's take the listening, the IELTS listening test, for example, okay? You will play the audio while watching or while reading the test. And then you start answering the questions while listening to the audio. What if you want to develop your listening and your reading skills as well? You're going to read the script that is at the end of the book while listening to the audio. So this would definitely help you boost your listening, reading, and writing at the same time, because you have to write the answers as well. So that makes some kind of a combination between all the skills together. So guys, this is one of the shortest ways by which I just gave you an example of the listening exam. But if you do, or if you start practicing the 4 skills, and if you start learning more about the 4 skills, believe me, things will become way easier than they are now. All right. Thank you very much, and sorry for speaking a lot.
Absolutely.
No, thank you so
It's a
much.
pleasure.
Yeah, this is really so informative. Thank you so much. And Dr. Mohammed Goma, now it's a question for you, Dr. Mohammed. Are you still here? Dr.
Yes,
Mohammed?
I am sure.
Yeah, thank you. So you're a principal at your school, right? So here we have a question like, how can you deal with some teachers who are uncooperative? If you have something like this in your team, if you have a problem like this in your team, so tell us, how can you deal with something like this?
Excuse me, which problem?
If the teacher himself or herself is uncooperative, yes, they don't want to cooperate with other teachers. You see, they said point. Yes, sometimes. Well, okay. Yes, for example, yes, you get the idea. Yes.
Yes, this teacher is called disgruntled teacher, and disgruntled teacher, and this kind of teacher is like a normal person who is always against any kind of a change. For example, if you want to tell him, you know what, we have 22 periods this year, but you're gonna take 24. He says, why it was 22 and now it's 24? You ask him, for example, please, teacher X is going to be teaching grade 4.1 and 5.1, and you'll be teaching 4.2, 4.3. Then you need to help him with the preparation for grade 5. He says, why should I do that? It's not my business. It's not my job. It's not. Again, we'll go back to the rapport. We'll go back to building the communication, and I'll go back also to being a manager and a leader. Sometimes, as I told you, that you need to be a manager in some cases, and you have to implement what? Implement the school policy. Because as the students have, for example, discipline policy, also teacher have something called the staff handbook. In the staff handbook, you have rules. But when you start with teachers, as we told, as Mr. Mohammed Zayed spoke about the situational decision, the decision can be taken according to the situation. But I have to tell you a story that happened with me. One of the teachers was in a conflict with the HOD, and they always have clashes. They never come on the same wave, and then the HOD came to complain of the teacher. I just did something very simple. I went to the teacher and I brought him to this, and I started asking him a question. How is your life? He says, fine. I told him, I feel that these days that you are losing weight. Do you have any problems? He said, no, I'm okay. Then I told him, how about your kids? He said, well, my kids are wonderful. I told him, your daughter was in grade 5 this year, right? He said, yeah, she was in 5. I said, how did she do in the final exam? She said, she was wonderful. I said, alhamdulillah, fantastic. I'm happy to know that your situation is okay. And I didn't talk about anything. And after a couple of days, I called him once more in my office. I told him, I have a question for you. He says, yes, please, go ahead. I just said, I want to be frank with you. My question is, do you have any problems with your HOD? He said, yes, I do. Because he started to feel that I'm very close to him. And this was the problem from the HUD. HUD was not able to have a good, communication with the teacher. And again, a good leader is a good communicator. You have to
Definitely.
communicate with your team, and you have to understand everything about them. Then he said, yes, I'm in a clash with him because he does care for his work outside school. And when it comes to school's work, he's like working with the least calories ever. Look, the teacher is not happy with HUD because he feels that this HUD is not able to improve the teacher. Why?
Improve, yes.
Because this HUD is caring also for his work outside the school. He has online business, for example. He has private tutoring, whatever. Then I told him, what is the best way to solve this problem? He said he has to care for us. He has. I told him, okay, thank you very much. And I let him go. I talked to the HUD and explained the situation to the HUD. And I told him, I need only one thing from you. He said, what is that? I said, I want you to invite him for lunch. Invite your teacher for lunch and sit with him for lunch. And this teacher was called disgruntled teacher. Disgruntled. He never accepts anything from his HUD. He invited him for lunch and he started telling him that, I feel that I'm not doing my utmost work in the school because I have a lot of kids and I'm working hard outside the school. I think, guys, I'm not doing the job as an HUD. I need your help. He started telling the teacher that I need your help. The teacher, in a minute, everything goes upside down. And he says to him, let's help each other. Let's do so and so and so. And the problem was ended. Again, it's all about the situation. But if you do that with the teacher, and if you try to be nice with the teacher, and you try to be motivational, inspirational, and everything you've done, and the teacher is still making a problem, then an inquiry should be sent. Be careful. You have to send an inquiry. But after a long way of dealing with him in a professional way, the inquiry should be sent. He has to answer the inquiry professionally. And again, guys, wallahi, be careful. Because one of the HUDs complained of a teacher, and I was angry because the HUD was dealt in a bad way. And I told my HUD, send inquiry to the teacher. When he sent an inquiry to the teacher, what happened? The teacher replied, and the teacher was right. The teacher was right, and the HUD was wrong. And I got the inquiry, I looked at it, I read it, I brought the HUD in my office. It's wrong to say to the HUD that you're wrong in front of teachers. Don't do that.
Yeah.
However, you have to bring him to your office. I brought him to my office and I washed him. And then the situation was sorted out. That's what I'm saying, guys. Again, let me tell you what I said in the beginning. I told you, an effective principal should be seen everywhere in the school. I don't want you guys to be a principal sitting in your office, closing your doors, and know nothing about the school. I want you to be seen in the HUD's office. I want you to be seen in the canteen. I want you to be seen in the accountant office. I want you to be seen also in the teacher's office. I want you to be seen with the janitors, with the workers. Everybody in the school should feel that you are there, but you're not going there to observe. You're going to protect and help. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing such useful tips. This is like useful tips, guys, because many of you here are teachers, so you know now how to deal with such a situation that Dr. Goma told you about. So guys, so again, thank you so much for sharing this experience with us, Mr. Goma and Dr. Goma, and these insightful tips. So the last question here for Mr. Muhammad Nabil. Are you still here, Mr. Muhammad? I think we lost Mr. Muhammad Nabil. Okay. So now it's
No, I'm
time,
still
guys,
here.
to
I'm still
announce
here.
our first. We're
I
here.
was typing something in the chat box. Yeah.
So this is
I was mute.
no problem. So how to deal with students who are the same question, but actually from the perspective of students. So how to deal with students who are not cooperative, disturbing the whole class, and very dominating in nature.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell you something that I have faced in a demo. Listen, when I was applying to work as an ESL instructor at Forest University. Okay. So a teacher was trying to make, noise, fighting with others, it was acting like, a disruptive student. So what I did was that I kept the others busy doing something, and I asked him to come away from me. And then I talked to her to know what problems she's facing, or she was facing, and I tried to calm her down. Okay, and then asked, and then told her that if she wants to do anything or to talk to someone, she can talk to me. Then she got back to her place, and she never talked again. Well, sometimes I do this in my classes. Some other times when I agree on the rules with my students, when I set clear rules, okay, I'm talking about the classroom rules from the very beginning of my classes, or from the very beginning of the school year. I think I don't find these things, but what if this this thing happens? I think that reminding the student that it's not appropriate to do this, but again, individually, not in front of others, might be good here. One more thing is to assign, a rule for this student, for this kind of student in the group work. For example, tell him to moderate the discussion. Maybe he has a specific role to do, and then he will feel, engaged, and he won't find time to think of something else or anything else. That's what I think.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Muhammad. Thank you so much. I think we have many and many other like tips, guys, but with time is is flying actually, and we have to start announcing the surprises. So let me share my screen again. Yes, here we are. So as we said, we have like, this is the first surprise. It's these are actually some books, some valuable books in education, and hopefully, inshallah, you can make the best use of them. The first one is Creativity in the English Language Classroom. This is actually by British Council, and you will find many and many activities there. And we have 300 more warmers and fillers where this will help you to start and to spice up your sessions at the very beginning. And then a third book called Teaching and Learning Strategies for Thinking Classroom. And this is actually is related to what Mr. Muhammad Zayed said about the 5 C's of 5 C's of what did we say, Mr. Muhammad?
Of an innovative teachers.
Of innovative teachers, exactly. So this is again these books actually, in order to get them. So would you please, Mrs. Gheda? Ms. Gheda is going to drop here a link of the Facebook, our Facebook page. So please leave a comment on this post on Facebook. Tell us about your what do you think about this session? Your feedback about this session. Do you need other session like this? Mention 5 names of your friends who may show interest in our page, and you will receive these 3 books. So again, Mrs. Gheda,
yes, sure. I will
Yes.
share a link in the chat box immediately.
Yes, so here is the link, guys, in the chat box. Please leave a comment on this post on Facebook. A comment, I mean your feedback about the session, and mention 5 names of your friends who may show interest in our page, and you will receive these valuable
The
books.
first
So please,
surprise.
this is the first surprise, yes. So please click this link and go to Facebook page and mention 5 names of your friends, and then you will receive our gift. And now let's move to our second surprise. Okay. Yes, Mrs. Gheda.
Sure. Actually, I would like you to share the page. Thank you. Yes. So guys, actually for the first time, Innovia had generated a tool, and that tool can help teachers identify their areas to develop. I don't like to say weakness points, but they are areas to develop. And also, it also helps them to know and identify their strengths. Okay, this is called Teachometer. Teachometer measures teacher's knowledge of teaching, of course, and it is a starting point that helps you determine your path. Actually, it is time for you to know your worth, hold your power, and be you. If you are interested, find the sent link again in the chat box, and you will be asked to register for this. I will send you the link to a Google form where we collect your emails in order to get the link to the Teach-U-Meter. Okay, so now in the chat box you have two links. The first link to the post in order to get the books, and the second link is for experiencing the Teach-U-Meter. Yes, Ms.
So guys,
Heba.
so I
Yes,
think
Dr.
now
Heba.
you understand now what's guys, do you understand now what's Teach-U-Meter? So again, it's like your starting point to know your point of weakness. Where can you start to develop yourself? How? So this is the idea. So this is the Teach-U-Meter. So please click on the link. And again, I'm relating to what Dr. Goma said about, yes, how can you start to improve your teaching career? So
actually, Dr. Heba, I would like to add a very tiny note, guys. Whenever you are entering a training session or a training program, they usually start from the teachers or the trainees' needs. And that is exactly the function of the Teach-U-Meter, and that is why Teach-U-Meter is generated. Yes, Dr. Heba, sorry for interruption.
Yes, no problem. So yes, Mr. Othman. Mr. Othman.
And now, and now I think it's time to announce the grant. Yes, Innovia Ed is presenting a fully funded grant for teachers. We're so much happy to announce this. In this grant, teachers will be exposed to 5 informative and beneficial modules. I think Dr. Heba will take us through this in details. Okay.
Yeah, we would like also to highlight that this grant is totally free, Dr. Heba.
It is. It is.
Yes, this is totally free, guys, for you. So let me just show you. Let me share my screen again. So as Mr. Othman highlighted, we actually have 5 modules here. So the first module, can you see my screen, guys? Hello, can you see my screen?
Yes, clear.
Okay. So the first module here has to do with, well, this is the first one, explore useful ELT terminologies. Because guys, if you are preparing yourself for CELTA or for TESOL or whatever, maybe you need some terminology that will help you in dealing with such like. So we are going to explore some useful terminologies for you. And the second module here has to do with classroom management and techniques. This is the second module, and the third one has to do with embracing social media and digital tools to engage students in teaching the 4 skills. Here I'm referring to reading, writing, speaking, and listening. The fourth module here has to do with adapting material for use in teaching online classes. And the last module actually is like the project. This is the grant project where you're going to implement what you learned, right? And you're going to work in groups with partners to finalize the grant project. And of course, we have some self-paced materials that you're going to work on by yourselves, and we're going to provide you with some useful resources to study from and to improve your career. So this is our grant. If you again click the link for the Teach-U-Meter, you can join our grant, inshallah. And as we said, it's totally free. And inshallah, maybe we'll have a session recently, inshallah, an orientation session to announce more details about the grant.
Yes, great.
So
guys, I will be reposting the links again one last time because some people have just entered. Okay, Dr. Heba. Done.
Okay, so I just want to ask Dr. Goma, Mrs. Hind, and whatever about the idea of Teach-U-Meter. Are you supporting us in this? Are you encouraging teachers to take the teacher meter? What do you think, Dr. Goma, Mrs.
For,
Hand, if
for
you're
me,
here?
for me, for me, I'm pro. I'm pro because, as you mentioned, I love the name because it indicates a real meaning of a thermometer. Like you are testing the water of every
Exactly.
teacher. You are testing the levels, and also trying to let everybody understand where he is when it comes to accuracy, and because we have both, fluency and accuracy. When it comes to fluency, how to speak good English. When it comes to accuracy, it's all about methodology. It's all about how to teach in a proper way. It's about how to be a professional teacher and how to be someone who is able to update himself every now and then. May Allah bless you. I love the idea. I love your entity. It's a promising one. It's a beautiful one, and I'm pretty sure that when you kick off, inshallah, you will inspire everybody. May Allah bless you all.
Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Mrs.
So-
Hand, if you're here, what do you think? I think Mrs. Hand left.
Yes, some people
Okay,
asked about how to join the amazing grant, and actually the answer is fill out the teacher meter form. It would be an application for the grant, and to receive the 3 interesting, lovely, beneficial books, just go to the Facebook post and comment, mention 5 of your friends who may be interested in our page.
And for the courses, guys, and the teaching training courses and workshops, as we said, just refer to our Facebook page. You will find some details, and inshallah, we're going to have another or coming sessions
Orientation.
for more and more, yes, more details about the courses and whatever we're going to do. Mr. Muhammad Nabil, Mr. Muhammad Zayed, I think you're still here. Thank you so much for joining us. I think we keep you here long. I'm really sorry for this, but
Yeah, it has been a pleasure. Actually, they were so patient.
Teachers here want to learn. Yes, want to learn more and more from your experience and your and get inspired by your ideas. Thank you so much for being with us, dear guest speakers. Thank you so much, dear attendees. It has been a pleasure having you all today. And remember our motto: educate to innovate. Thank you so much.
Can I add? I'd like our participants to share the comments and feedback on Facebook. If you please go to our page on Facebook and add your comments. What do you think?
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Thank you so much indeed.
Awesome. And if you need other, maybe you can put your suggestions. I mean, if you need more sessions like this, what topics would you like us to share with you? Okay. Thank you so much
for attending.
With us. Yes, thank you for attending. Thank you for being with us, and see you inshallah in our next events and workshops. Thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye.